She would stare at me with her big, beautiful brown eyes. And after all this time, I just cannot believe that the reason she's not here with us now is because she drank some water.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you. We'll leave that up. I'm going to use it. Good morning, Mr. Watkins. My name is Joel Odou. I represent the water. First off, I'm very sorry that you got sick. I just have a few questions for you. At the time that you got sick, that was in 2018, right?
Yes, sir.
And at the time that you got sick, you didn't know that real water had made you sick. Isn't that also true?
Yeah, after my doctor told me to stop drinking real water, that's, yeah, I didn't know.
You didn't know why you got sick. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yes,
Okay. And in 2018, you'd never heard of hydrazine, right?
no, sir.
Okay. Were you aware that in 2021, in October of 2021, hydrazine was found in the real water concentrate by the FDA?
Was I aware of that?
Yeah, that's fact.
No, sir.
Okay. So you don't know that hydrazine is what made you sick?
No, sir.
Now, when you got out of the hospital, you decided that you were not going to drink alkaline water anymore, right?
For my doctors. What the doctors say not to drink raw water, that's exactly what I did. I stopped.
But the email that your wife said doesn't say stop drinking alkaline water. It says stop drinking real water. It says stop drinking alkaline water, doesn't it?
But she meant real water in the email. Certainly, because that's the real water.
When you say that, I'm sorry. Oh, you're pointing to your that screen. Sorry.
Yes, no, it's all good.
Okay, so when you got out of the hospital, the doctor said stop drinking alkaline water, or he said stop drinking real water.
Real water.
You said real water.
Yes.
So then your wife said stop drinking alkaline water in her email to real water. Is that true?
In that email, yes, sir, it says that.
Okay. You're aware there's other waters out there that are alkaline water, aren't you?
I'm sure there is.
And Mr. Kemp is your lawyer, right?
Yes, sir.
And he's your lawyer in your lawsuit against real water, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. No.
Anything further?
No, I'm sorry.
Wait. We'll get from. Simple question. Mr. Watkins, my name is Scott Rasmussen, represent Hanna Instruments. Did you say that you began drinking real water 2015?
I believe it was between 2015 to 2018, yes, sir.
Let me start the question again. I just want to make sure. You began drinking real water in 2015. Is that a yes or a no?
Yeah, I believe that was the year, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember about what time in 2015?
No, sir, I don't.
Did you ever get sick in the year 2015 from drinking real water?
No.
16? That's all I, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robbins.
Thank you, sir. Milwaukee has no questions.
Mr. Kemp.
Where you going?
Thank you, sir. You released.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and the next witness to be,
We call Tom Van by video, and I'm advised the video is 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Approximately 1 hour and 4 or 5 minutes.
okay. So relative, just a little bit after lunch, afternoon, right? And that's perfectly fine. Before we start the video, are we okay on restroom breaks? Just want to make sure. Okay.
Van. First name is P-H-A-N-G. It's pronounced Van, P-H-A-N, Van, right. First, can you describe your educational background? Sure, I've got LSU, in Baton Rouge. So I could get both items. And what else? After that, went straight to Air Force. So how long in the Air Force? Quite some time. Okay, a little bit over 9 years.
And did you have a specialty in the Air Force?
I was a first lieutenant.
Okay, the resume has a first employment history at Crown Plaza Hotel in March '96.
Correct. I was a director of food and beverage at the casino.
Okay, after you got out of the military, was this the first job you had?
Correct.
Okay, and so when did you leave the job as director of food and beverage at the casino?
April, May. I got another job I could move up to San Francisco.
That'd be April or May of 2001, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and then where did you go?
I went to a company called Gate Gourmet, which is a in-flight catering.
Okay, and where'd you go with that?
I went to a company called Shootable Bakery.
And what did they do?
They are a manufacturer of bakery goods to Costco. And if you carry their mandolins at Costco, that's from them. And also the brownie bites and the pommiers. I went, joined the company as a director, then moved up to a VP of manufacturing within 9 months.
So you were the vice president for what period of time?
A good period of time of 4.5 years, 5 years.
Okay. And you said they were a supplier to Costco?
Correct.
Okay.
Costco, Sam's Club, BJ Clubs, Safeway, Bonds.
And did Costco require third-party audits?
Correct.
And
We actually had 2 audits. We had the AIB audits, which is American Institute of Baking, and also NSF.
okay, so NSF was an auditor of Sugar Bowl during the time you were there.
And also AIB.
Okay.
We had 2 audits.
And during the time period there, do you know how many NSF audits there were?
About 4, AIB about 5.
Okay. And were the NSF audits on an annual basis?
Correct.
And was that your first experience with an NSF audit?
It was my first experience. There was a prior director who wasn't able to pass the audit twice, so they asked me to come in and join the company because we had a strong HACCP program, which is a food safety program at the airline business. And so I came in and we got the whole entire company and we passed the audit.
Okay, you said you had a strong HACCP program when you were back at the Gate Gourmet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the reason they brought you into Sugar Bowl was they had failed or they had a poor score on an NSF audit?
Correct.
Did they actually fail?
They actually failed. Twice. And I finally came in and I had to change the whole entire company along with the CEO and yeah.
So Sugar Bowl failed on the audit and it also failed on the re-audit?
Correct. Well, they failed because they were not familiar with the HACCP program that was in place at the time. Because HACCP was pretty much a brand new entity that started with the food safety throughout the nation. So the current director there was not very familiar with the process.
Okay, and HACCP is H-A-A-C-P?
HACCP.
H-A-C-C-P, okay. Got it. All right. And so you had to make some changes at Sugar Bowl in order to pass the NSF audit?
Correct.
And did Costco terminate Sugar Bowl for a time period or suspend it?
No, at the time they were in the process trying to get into Costco. In order to get into Costco, you have to pass this HACCP audit to ensure that the food safety is there for their consumer who buys the products at Costco. So they have a very strong process link that we have to go through. A guideline from the NSF that we have to meet all the requirements in order to pass from the raw ingredients to the trucking, the cleaners, the sanitations, the pest control, and everything that needs to be done within the company.
Okay, so prior to your coming to Sugar Bowl, they were not sold in Costco, is that correct?
Correct.
And so you were brought in
To help
them pass an NSF audit so they could get into Costco?
correct.
Okay.
The deposit's already been accepted, but they wouldn't accept it unless there was a passing score at, with the NSF.
Okay. And that objective was achieved, you did get the passing
Of
score?
course.
And you said the Costco products were what again?
The Madeleines,
What are those?
those are French, butter cookies.
And you said, I think that you also, Sugar Bowl also sold a Home Club or Sam's Club?
Yes, they also sell Sam's Club. The way it works is that Sam's Club require a different label, but the same product from a different company. You see similar products in Sam's Club and Costco, but because they're the same company, just a different label and different packaging.
Okay. And did Sam's Club also require an NSF audit
Of course,
annually?
annually. And also Safeway, Vons, and all the supermarkets also require, even Starbucks.
So Safeway, Bonds, and Starbucks also all required Sugar Bowl to do an annual NSF audit.
Correct.
Would you say that was, as of 2009, that was the standard in the industry to require an annual third-party audit?
Pretty much. I mean, if you don't have one, then, a lot of customer would not want to accept your products to go into their company. They want to ensure that the product all going to these club stores are safe for their consumers.
Okay. When did you first move to Las Vegas? Roughly.
9 years ago?
Okay, so that would take us to maybe 2014?
Probably.
Okay. And why did you move to Las Vegas?
The house is cheaper than San Francisco.
And how did it come to your attention that there was an opening of real water?
I think I applied to an Indeed. In one website.
Mm-hmm. And you saw that there was a job availability?
Right.
And do you remember what the position was?
They were hiring for a director of operations who had a strong knowledge of HACCP program and so forth.
Okay. And did that include quality assurance?
Yes,
So was it a director of operations or director of quality assurance or both?
it was supposed to be both, but I ended up just doing just director of operations.
Okay. So you didn't become the director of quality, well, let's strike that. So approximately when were you interviewed?
I'm sorry?
Approximately when were you interviewed?
2000, I don't know, it's been long.
Was it late 2019, late 2018? Late 2018.
Correct.
And you started in 2019? Do you remember?
Yes. Don't remember that, but that sounds like.
Okay. All right. And your formal job position was what?
It's supposed to be director of operations.
But you really weren't the director of operations?
I was director of fixing products, fixing issues.
Okay. And was there a big issue at that time?
At the time, I mean, they brought me because I have a good knowledge of HACCP program and the process of how things are done.
Well, they just failed an NSF audit, correct?
Correct. But prior to that, they did pass the NSF audit, and I was questioning how did they
do that?
I wish I knew. I wasn't told how they did that, because when I was trying to do what we call a flow chart for NSF audit preparation, I came to a lot of roadblocks where I couldn't even get the answer. The process of how the water came in, how the chemical was mixed, that's where I got stopped, because there was something called a secret room where I was not allowed to go into it, have a key to the cabinet, which connect the water pipe. That's where one of the owner's son, Jake Blake,
Blaine Jones?
yeah, Rain Joe was the only one that was not allowed to be in there to mix the chemicals. And that product I was told to, don't worry about it, it's not your concern, skip it on the flow chart. So I started questioning, so within a few months later, I guess they got tired of me and just let me know.
Okay, so directing your attention to 18, have you seen that document before, which purports to be NSF audit dated December 6th, 2018?
Okay.
Have you seen this before?
I believe so.
Okay.
This is an old one, prior to me getting in there.
Right.
So I did saw this before, and my job was also to look at the discrepancy in the audit and fix it one by one to make sure that when the next audit comes in, everything that's already been demerits has been fixed.
Okay, and if you want to take a look at the February 13th, 2019 re-audit on Exhibit 19, this is the next one in order. I'm just trying to
19, okay.
See the date there, February 13th, 2019.
Right.
So the reason you were brought in is because Real Water failed the NSF audit for Costco, and they wanted you to try to implement some sort of asset program so they could pass the re-audit, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, okay, with regards to this particular audit, referring to the December 6, 2018 audit, do you see on page,
That's 19 or 18?
that's 18.
Okay.
You see on page 5 of 17 that the finding is, quote, there was no qualified individual to provide a level of competency necessary for production of clean and safe product. Note that the quality assurance director had resigned, unquote. Do you see that?
What section was that?
Number 5, section 4, page 5.
Yes, it's 4. Number 5, section 4.
On the bottom left, you have page 5 of 7.
Here?
Right here, it's at 5. No, right here.
Section 5.
No, right here, your page.
Okay.
It's at 5 of 7.
Okay.
Okay.
Number what?
Block number 5, section 4. It says, quote, there was no qualified individual. You have that one?
Yes, I.
Okay. Okay, and that's a true statement. Before you got there was no qualified individual.
Yep, that's a true statement.
So, did you discover when you started working for Real Water that there was no qualified individual to make clean and safe water?
Correct.
In general, what did you find when you started working there?
I'll find that the process was, I went through the process chart and flow. A lot of things didn't add up. It was missing a lot of CCP, which is critical control point, what could cause a lot of dangers into the system of the water. And also the personal hygiene of the employee was not there. You know, I mean, people there's music blasting everywhere. That's safety issues with OSHA, but there's so many machinery moving about. You know, my concern was to make sure the employee doesn't get hurt when there's music just blasting. There's employees just wearing earrings, fingernail polish on women's, which is not, because fingernail polish could actually fall off. You know, this is all food safety. Yeah.
So you said that you were not given information as to the materials that were actually being used for the product?
No, because I knew the process, how the water got transferred from the city into the tank and the osmosis process that they have. But there was one step that I was not allowed to understand or ask question about their secret room, how Blaine was adding the chemicals process.
Okay, go ahead.
Because they had the owner, the father came up with some kind of concentrate bottle that he's supposed to put into the water, and it's magically supposed to change the water into the water. But anyway, in there was a room next to the office where the water is connected, where only Blaine has a key to it. Blaine only was able to, the one that was able to mix whatever chemical that's supposed to be mixed in there, which no one knew except him and the whole family. So I was told to stay away and skip that process.
So the first HACCP or quality control problem was they didn't identify the materials being used.
Yeah, and that's a requirement, because I want to match the label in the back of every product that you drink or eat, to make sure that I want to go through all the process, how much things to put in it, just in case if there's something happening to the person who put the chemicals in, someone is able to step in and fix that problem or add that problem according to their process program.
So one of the key parts of the HACCP analysis is to identify what materials are used for the product.
Correct.
Is there a way to do a meaningful HACCP analysis without knowing what's going into the product?
Yeah.
Okay. And was this a constant problem while you were there?
Correct.
I mean, did you repeatedly ask for a list of the ingredients?
I did, but at the end of it, stay away. Just don't ask anyone.
So you asked 5 times, 10 times? How many times?
I don't know, numerous times.
Okay.
More than 5 times.
They always told you, don't worry about it.
Yep, it's not your concern.
So during the entire time you were there, that particular HACCP point could not be resolved.
Yeah. And I knew that there was another Costco audit coming up, and my assumption was that I think they got tired of me asking, and I was just like, and I said, fine.
Okay. You think you were fired because you wanted to impose quality control measures like HACCP and they wouldn't let you do it?
They let me do to a certain point to where when I started asking more questions about ingredients, and that was it. That's what my belief was.
So your compensation agreement was for the first 6 months you'd work at a lower level of compensation, and then after 6 months you'd be at a higher level.
Correct.
And they fired you right before you got to the 6 months.
And I think that, because I asked me questions.
Did they fire you right before you got to the 6 months? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And who terminated you?
It was the mom.
Amy Jones?
Huh?
Amy Jones?
Yes, and Blake.
Blaine Jones.
Blaine.
Okay. So back to this NSF audit that we have is 18. This is pretty poor audit result for a company.
I believe so. I never had this comes in and saw so many demerits.
Is this one of the worst or the worst you've ever seen?
Yes, I have. That's the worst. And even that Sugar Bowl is not as bad as this one. Sugar Bowl was pretty much fixing the culture of the company, and a lot of people have been there 10, 20 years, which had that the paradigm way of thinking, tunnel vision, but you just have to change the culture.
And you said that after the materials being identified, you worked on the flow chart, correct?
All right, that's part of the flow chart, how the process is made. I can't say, oh yeah, the water goes through the secret room. That's be ridiculous, because people are going to ask, oh, what's the secret room? And I'm surprised Costco never, or not the Costco, but the auditor ends up, they go through the whole entire process But and I was surprised how they passed I guess, the previous audit at NSF, and because they skipped the process on the paperwork, the NSF is not a person who actually go through each room. They just want to look at the process and identify certain key point.
NSF just comes there for one day, right?
Yeah, it's one day. If the company's big enough, they could be there 2 days.
Okay. And then NSF basically looks at the paperwork as opposed to starting at point A and going all the way through the process, right?
Pretty much. Make sure the paperwork are done correctly, and then sometimes they could verify, the hygiene process, sanitation process, and so forth.
And since you could identify the materials being used, there's no way NSF could have done that.
No.
And if NSF could have done that, they shouldn't have been given a good HACCP score, right?
I would.
All right. Now, with regards to the flow chart, the flow chart identifies each process used to make the water.
Part of it.
Okay. What else does it do?
I'm sorry, can I have one more?
What else does the flow chart do?
The flow chart also identify, there's different flow chart within a company. Flow chart has a flow chart, there's a sanitation flow chart and identify, make sure everything is in place where it's supposed to be. They could pick a certain point of the flow chart and say, hey, show me this, and we should be able to show them at a certain point. I had books, binders, start lining up a different section of the NSF. That way, when they ask a section 17, I go 17, just pick out the book to show them that the process within that particular section of the audit that they're asking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is one aspect of the HACCP process documenting complaints from customers?
No, that's in a separate binder for customer service.
That's a quality control concern?
It is quite a control concern. We had a lot of concern at the time I was there. Like the tank water thing was dirty or have you, and we had to recall those tanks.
Okay. And with regards to your position, would you be involved if customers were making complaints?
Yeah, we had another manager that was in place that deal with customer complaint, customer service manager.
Would that be Shady Castillo?
Yes, I'm familiar, yes.
Okay. So it was Shady Castillo's job to get complaints?
Correct.
Okay. And you were on the list of people to see customer complaints?
Yeah.
So did you ever see any customer complaints?
I heard a lot of customer complaints, but I never see the format that they do.
And when you say you heard of customer complaints, how did that happen?
Well, two people talking and in the office, we had employee who also worked at a different facility talked about customer complaint. They had a facility in Ontario, California, where they provide water to their customers in that section region, where they were providing those water bottles. And instead of going through the whole process of osmosis, I guess the machine broke down, that's what I heard, and they just using city water to fill up the tank and ship out to the customers. So that's some of the complaint. And some of the complaint I heard in Las Vegas
the first complaint, that was the company that made the 5-gallon jugs?
Correct.
Okay.
I think it's the same company, their sister company.
In California?
Correct.
So when you started at Designated, you were primarily making retail bottles, 1 liter, 1.5 liters?
Correct.
Okay. And that was intended for Costco and other?
Costco, Whole Food, I think it was
Sprouts, and they were also sold with Terrible Herbs? Safe?
I don't remember Terrible Herbs.
Okay, all right. So back to the complaints. You heard customers complain about the retail bottles? You heard of customer complaints about the retail bottles?
No, I didn't hear about it until I left the company, and my neighbor also, him and his wife went to the hospital, cause they bought some from Whole Foods, and that's when I heard about it. I at the time, I just got let go of within the company, and they were in the hospital for a few days.
What's your neighbor's name?
His name was Chip Couvet. I think I gave the information to Kelly.
Okay.
But anyway, so
you heard that your neighbor had been hospitalized for?
well, I heard about it. I saw an ambulance came and him and his wife went first, and then the following day, he was the one that had to go to the hospital.
In an ambulance?
Also.
So your neighbor and his wife were taken to the hospital.
Correct.
Ambulance. And this was at a time when you were employed by Real Water?
No, that time I just quit.
Right after you quit?
Right. And then after a few months later, when I was with a new company I was with, after I heard the news about what had happened to Real Water, and honestly, I wasn't surprised. And then,
Okay, let's stick with the neighbor for a minute.
okay,
So you found out the neighbor went to the hospital. Did you find out whether they had liver problems or not?
they had a lot of issues. I didn't go into detail with them because I was more concerned about their being safe.
But they told you they bought retail bottles at Whole Foods?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes,
And did they say what size retail bottles at Whole Foods?
the bigger one, the 1.5 liter one.
Did they say which particular Whole Foods here in Las Vegas, correct?
Yeah, the one right here on Town Square.
Town Square over there off Las Vegas Boulevard?
Correct.
Okay. And what is the approximate time period they went to the hospital?
I didn't keep track, but they were there like 3 or 4 days.
I mean, what was the time period you saw the ambulance?
Oh. When the month wise? Or
Is it, okay, you left Real Water approximately May 2019?
right.
Was it about that time?
Yeah, around May or June.
Of 2019?
Correct.
And how did you discover that they had purchased Real Water at Whole Foods?
Oh, because I was stupid enough to tell them, hey, I work for Real Water, so it's pretty good water. So they went and bought some.
They were upset with you?
No, because we were friends. Besides, it wasn't good. I didn't make the water, or
Right.
just.
But they attributed their hospitalization to the Whole
Correct.
Foods Real Water? Okay. And did they say why they thought it was the Whole Foods Real Water?
Because his wife started getting diarrhea, had nauseated dizziness, and so did he. Vomiting, yeah.
Was just
Good.
Did they have kids in the hospital, in the house?
No, they had no kids. They were just got married.
Alright, and the last name of these people is what again?
I can get it to you. CRUVE something. It's been a while since they moved to,
How's it pronounced? Couvet?
yeah, probably.
Couvet?
I'll give that name to your assistant if you want.
Do you consider that a serious issue?
I believe so. I mean, I didn't really think anything about it until I started hearing people getting sick and that our kid was getting sick, which was really concerning to me. But funny thing was that if the FDA called me at my new job, I don't know how they got my number, but they did, and they asked me, hey, do you know anything about what's going on with Real Water? I said, no, I left the company. And so I asked them what's going on. I said, oh, people are really sick. And that was my concern. And I said, well, you want to know, ask the son, because he was the one who in charge of mixing our products. I thought it might be listeria, I don't know. So I wasn't, provide that information.
And how old was he at the time approximately?
He's a young guy, he's around 32, 33. And his wife is very young, 29, 31.
Okay. Did you become aware of any other incidents involving people who went to the hospital allegedly because of real water?
Yeah.
Okay, if you flip over to page 45, this is an email chain that you're not on, that Shane Steele is on it. And on page 2, second full paragraph here, the customer reports that her husband had been, I don't know if you have the right page with me, second page?
Yeah, sorry.
Second full paragraph, great. The email says, quote, "My husband has been in the hospital for 2 weeks and the doctor wants him to stop drinking alkaline water. I can provide that information if he wants to see online about that as well. I don't need this BS," unquote. Did I read that right?
Yep.
Okay, this involves a different real water customer called Watkins, Wadkins. It's on the front there. So prior to today, did you know that we had another real water customer in or around June 2018 complaining that their husband had to go to the hospital to go to real water?
No.
If you had known, well, strike that. If you'd still been working for real water and one or other of these incidents had come to your attention, what, if anything, would you have done?
Well, I want to trace back, talk to the customer first of all, and find out what's the cost of it, and then trace back to the water, the process of the water, and see where did we go wrong, what part of the process did we skip to ensure water safety to our customer.
You do some sort of investigation.
Of course, I mean, who wouldn't? You know, when we deal with customers, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll tell you who wouldn't, who didn't. Go ahead.
Okay, anyway, so, yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to find out, that way there's no continued issues. We want to tackle that issue right away to fix it for the safety of our consumers. And that's been how I've been trained and teach and work with all my companies. Any issue that you have, you want to fix that right away, that it doesn't happen again.
Safety first.
Well, safety first, and also the protection of the company. When you work for a company, you want to protect the company and do anything right.
Okay. Now, Chip Corbet, he drank the retail bottles from Whole Foods, correct?
Correct.
All right, back to your time frame at Real Water. So you said that one of the problems was personal hygiene, earrings, and the like.
Well, yeah, and also safety of employees. There was just water everywhere. You know, we can't buy enough squeegees because.
Was that because of the roof leak?
Oh, that's a different thing. It was just the water. They had machinery that's pretty old and keep breaking down where they were bottling the water, but the bottle keep popping open and there's just water everywhere. Until I had to ask them to change the drainage system to make sure more drainage are in place.
Was this a substandard food supplier in your opinion?
Yeah.
All right, with regards to, can work with Mike Bush, right?
Yes.
And Mike Bush told us last week that Real Water had a practice of hiring people that just been let out of prison.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That is true. That is very true.
And what was your understanding of that practice?
Well, I believe everyone deserves a second chance in working in the company because they're trying to get their life back together. I remember a gentleman that got out of prison, and one of them who wanted to get his life back together. He's a very hard-working gentleman. I had no issue with him. He was always on time. I'm all for it, as long as they follow the standards that we have in the company. But you're right, because we couldn't get enough employees to work for the company. They went that route of hiring.
Was that because the wage level was relatively low?
Yeah,
So they're paying $8 an hour, right?
I think it was, yeah, pretty much.
Right. And so they couldn't get a higher quality employee that would cost more than $8 an hour.
I'm sure they could, but they didn't. But anytime you go to a company, you always want to learn the whole entire company process and follow the safety guidelines.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Mike Bush told us that 10 to 20% of the workforce came from the prison. Is that accurate?
Pretty much.
Okay. And there are about 35 people there?
35, 40, a lot of people quit because they had some lawsuit going on with the owner, the guy owner.
So if you had 40 employees and 20% of them were from the prison system, approximately 8 employees were from the prison system?
Well, when I was there was about 4 or 5, but then some quit or never show back up to work. But there are, I just remember one good a black gentleman who worked really hard, who wanted to really get his life back together. And that was it. But as I left, I'm sure they hired more. I can't really say.
Okay. And Mike Bush also told us that there were a number of undocumented persons working there. Persons that were illegals.
Please approach.
And counsel, thank you. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a question from Ms. And ma'am, we appreciate all questions, and that's your number 3. The problem is, we can't ask the question because it's so big.
Exactly.
I understand, but we'll hold it, ma'am. You want it back, or? Okay, we'll give it back.
I'm gonna wait on.
And you might have a question later on for a live witness on that issue. Let the record reflect I'm giving the question back. She can use it for maybe someone else. I'm not sure. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thinking, right now would be a good time to maybe segue to lunch. What do you think? I'm getting some nods. And I think there'll be another, 10 minutes or so of the video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, just want to let you know what's going on. And it's my understanding this afternoon, there'll be one more video and maybe 2 live witnesses. Is that correct, Mr. Kemp?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, just so you know what your afternoon's gonna be like. So anyway, in light of that, this is what we'll do. Ladies and gentlemen, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial, or to read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including without limitations, newspaper, television, radio. Remember, no social media, and you're not to form or express any opinion on any subject connected with this case until the trial, until the cause is finally submitted to you during deliberations. And so, 1:15.
1:15, Your Honor. All rise to the court to adjourn. Let's get out that way if you want. Please be seated. Thank you.
All right, and any additional discussion, it's my understanding, we did have an objection sidebar regarding, I guess the last maybe 10 seconds or so of the video. We discussed the potential cure, we discussed potential violation of the limiting order. We also discussed the fact that, I guess, plaintiff's counsel instructed counsel for the defense that it was coming up, and I'll let you go ahead and make your record. I'm just kind of summarizing right now.
Yeah, I saw the bottom line that said we're illegal, and I thought, wow, we may have a problem. So I was actually asking Mr. Odou, but I thought his co-counsel's attention and said, you want us to stop? And I guess it took him a second to realize what I was talking about, and at that point in time, they did say we're illegal.
Your Honor, we have no doubt this was inadvertent. There was a discussion, obviously, at the time of the motion to eliminate. We incorrectly assumed it would have been edited out, just like some of the other inadmissible things have been edited out of a video yesterday. And so I think it caught everyone by surprise. I'm not accusing the plaintiffs of intentionally disregarding the court's order, not at all. These things happen, we're all very busy. And we certainly will think about it, but when the instruction's appropriate, but at this point, we don't want to cause further attention. Call further attention to it. Thank you.
And I do understand that, because I think the way we approached the bench, we had a discussion, then I segued not to the video, but to lunch, and also I gave the her question back, because we couldn't ask a question on video. Now, you decide how you want to approach it. I mean, I don't know if there's actually much you can do in this regard, because I don't know if we necessarily want to bring attention to it. I mean, I don't know. We can discuss it after lunch if necessary. How's that, Mr. Wood?
Sounds great. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
One thing to add to it, Your Honor, it's not a designated portion of the testimony, but there is a question in Mr. Pham's deposition at 68, line 6. Were there any persons that you suspected of using illegal identification or fake identification to get health cards? Answer, no.
We'll withdraw that, Your Honor.
Well, it's up to them, just because it uses the buzzword illegal, but it's not in the context of documentation and it's citizenship, and it's, the answer is no. So
I think having it drawn just hopefully cause the whole issue to slide under the radar. Of course.
Okay, and I guess what we'll do, if there's any other portions that need to be edited, make sure we take care of it during the lunch hour.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, 1:15, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, enjoy your lunch.
All right. Please proceed.
Okay, good afternoon. Let's go ahead and set forth our attendances for the record.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Joel Odou, Mr. Kaufman, on behalf of the water entities.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Scott Rasmussen on behalf of Hanna Instruments along with my planning.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Rob Robbins from Milwaukee.
All right, once again, good afternoon. I was looking at my case list, and we have another 14 cases in this department. So there's another 14 out there?
27.
There's 27.
Yes, they have 60 plaintiffs, there's 41 others.
Interesting.
Judge, just for the record, I went through Mr. Pham during lunch and made sure we didn't have any more references that were inappropriate. And in addition to that, I noticed that some of the upcoming testimony had to do with a different subject, which was whether or not they were translating the procedure manuals from English to Spanish. And Mr. Pham recommended they do it. They said they didn't want to do it because they were cheap. I told Mr. Odou that I'm just pulling that off because I didn't want to get into any kind of Spanish-speaking issue.
I understand. Problem solved. Everyone in agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So where do we go from here, Mr. Kemp?
I think we finished Mr. Pham.
And then we have a couple plaintiffs, right?
We have Mrs. Sutherland, I think, and we have Goldsmith video and Converse's video.
We have enough to keep busy this afternoon.
Yeah, we have fun.
And the jury is ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's bring him in.
Yes, Your Honor.
So we're gonna try all 50 or 40, whatever cases there are. That'll keep you busy, Mr. Odou.
Let's go.
It's good to have work.
You see alternative.
Yes, it does.
And you get a chance, find out anything. You have a rocket
All right, the party stipulated the purpose of the trip.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to say good afternoon, and I hope you enjoyed your lunch. Good afternoon. And we just have one housekeeping, Mr. Kemp, I just want to make sure.
Your Honor, we did 288, 289.
Okay, I'm just gonna triple check them. Save me 1 second. Just make sure the numbers match. No objection.
Mr. Rasmussen, any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, just want to check.
I appreciate it, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Mr. Robbins?
Just pulling them up right now.
Okay.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. We resume with Mr. Pham.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with the video deposition trial testimony. Okay.
Now, Mike Bush said that as part of the water production, they used what's called an ORP meter to measure the negative ORP reading.
Okay,
You familiar with that in any way, shape, or form?
yes,
Okay. Did you didn't use the meter, or did you?
yeah, mainly Mike.
Okay, so Mike would use the meter, would the other production people, Obed, Jose, and Diego use the meter as well?
No, just Mike.
Okay. Now, Mike also said that there was a point that he didn't know how to calibrate the meter, so he contacted the meter manufacturer.
Correct.
And
And also the machinery or stuff that we have, we inherit that. Because I hear it produce this thing. And of course I told Mike, you don't know anything, contact the manufacturer. Have them send you a video. That way we can have that in our archive to do training. I implemented a lot of training within the company, like the forklift training and the fire drill and the lockout, tag out procedures, which was not used. And that's a safety issue that my concern was the safety alarm push.
okay. Did you know that Mike had sent an email to the meter manufacturer?
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, let me show you the email.
Number?
Yeah, give me 1 second, I'm trying to catch up with where we are. Okay, would you take a look at exhibit 62, the second page?
Okay.
And you see this email that Mr. Bush sent on February 27th, 2019, saying, quote, "Hello, please send us instructions on how to properly calibrate our older or probe meters. Do the new meters need to be calibrated," unquote. Okay, direct your attention to exhibit 13. Could you take a look at Mr. Jones's deposition?
Okay.
And I'm looking at page 164, line 9.
164 line.
Where we asked him if it was correct that you would mix the concentrate into the water, measured for negative ORP, and it was more negative than 300, you would add more water, quote, and it was less negative than negative 225 of the required minimum, you would add more concentrate. Is that correct? And his answer on 22, yes, that's correct. You see that?
Okay, yeah.
And was that your understanding of the procedure being employed?
Yes,
So
that's my understanding, but again, I was not,
this wasn't your area?
no, because I was told to stay away from the whole process of what needs to be added into the water.
Okay, well, this is after the concentrate's made. This is when the concentrate's being put into the water.
Okay.
Okay? Did you know that they were measuring the ORP after the concentrate was put into the water?
No.
Okay. And so you didn't know that they were or were not adding concentrate if they got certain ORP readings, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is this something that should have been put on some sort of flow chart?
Yes, it should.
go back to Costco for a minute.
Okay.
So when you were hired, you were heard that there was a bad NSF audit, correct?
Correct.
We also heard that the Costco account was in jeopardy.
Correct.
They were concerned about losing the Costco account.
Correct.
Was that one of their major accounts?
What are the major account? Yes.
Okay. And who told you that they were concerned about losing the Costco account?
I think it was. Let me think. I don't quite remember, but all I know is that I have to fix their latest audit to make sure that it is up to par.
Okay. Your general task was to fix things so you could get a good NSF audit and save the Costco account.
Correct. I would love to see the secret room. You have it.
No, we don't.
Oh, you don't have it? Oh, I never see it.
We're talking the Desert Inn again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I was not allowed to put that on my book because even though they hold out of the raw ingredients, raw materials to make the bottles, but the reason why I didn't want to put that in there because they asked me not to because the owner, half of the facility is stored all his home junk, garbage.
So the owner of Jones was using it as sort of a mini warehouse?
Correct. Right.
Okay. And so that was outside your jurisdiction?
That's something I was told not to even think about it.
Okay, but that had real water stuff in it too?
Of course.
And if things were being sent to Whole Foods or Costco, they were first put in the staging area?
Correct.
Okay, and the staging area for the bottles that were sent to Whole Foods and Costco, that's where you observed the rats?
Right. Well, my concern is that the rats go between those pallets, and I don't want to have Costco going, hey, we got rat feces between these bottles, and the whole thing will be returned.
Okay. So what did you do to get rid of the rats?
I brought in a new company, and I had to fight for the new company. I wasn't fight.
A new rat control company?
A new pest control company, not a rat control company.
Okay, pest control includes rats?
It includes everything.
Okay.
Flies, rodents. Let's not say rats, rodents.
Okay, other than rats, did you have problems with other pests?
Well, we have flies issues because they like to keep the back door open to let the air flow through. Plywood comes in the back because there's like a bunch of dumpsters in the back of the shipping area, because there's another company that threw up a lot of other stuff that also attract flies, and that's a concern that's going to come into our facility.
Did you observe flies in the production line area?
Yes.
Okay. Lots of flies?
Doing something.
Okay. And why would it be a problem to have flies in the production line area?
Well, flies is unsanitary, and because we do it so much water, I know why would it touch? Because plywood could lay lava or what have you. Even if Costco comes in, they see that, that's jeopardy to our products also, or even Whole Foods that comes in, whoever comes in. I mean, if you come into a company, see flies flying everywhere in the restaurant, I would just walk out.
Was there an employee dining room at the Desert Inn facility?
Yes, there is, a small one,
Where's that at?
right next to the bathroom.
Okay, is that the best place to have a dining room?
At the time, we had no other place to put the employee dining room. That was prior to me being there.
Okay.
Until I was able to bring in some new refrigerations and microwave and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was the location of the employee dining room moved?
No, we had no room to move anywhere else.
Did you think it should be moved?
I think it should be to where their office is located, where it's all nice and cushy. They should make a room into the employee dining room to treat the employee better.
Okay, their office, you referred to Amy Jones and Fran Jones's office? Plain John?
No, their office meaning that they have another walkabout, about 20 step into their main reception area.
Did some of the former prisoners work on the production line?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a lot of turnover at Real-Water?
We had quite a few turnover.
And
We always get new people,
it had to be trained again.
correct.
Was turnover a problem?
It was. We're just, not just turnover, we're just short. Because the production was wrapping up for the summer, and we just didn't have enough employees to work.
Now, I think I asked you this, but I just want to make it crystal clear. With regards to that Milwaukee Instrument orb meter, you had nothing to do with it, right?
I had nothing to do with it.
Okay. And you don't know how it was calibrated, if it was calibrated, how it was cleaned, if it was cleaned, anything of the sort. You have no knowledge of that, right?
Well, basically, when you clean up an instrument, it's always using an alcohol swab. Clean any instrument that is a remedy with food or beverage, but that's common knowledge. But other than that, no.
Did NSF actually send a person out for a re-audit?
They were in the process of sending another person out to re-audit, and then I was let go prior to them coming in.
Okay, so the NSF, the failed audit had not been cleared up at the time you were terminated.
It was being working on to fix every item that needs to be fixed in the failed audits.
Okay.
If an audit asked me, I would say, hey, we didn't do it, I'll be honest, and pretty much that would have been able to fix it.
But as of the day you left Real-Water, you still had a failed audit from NSF.
Correct.
And during this time period, I think the first NSF audit was 12/6, and you left in May 2000, May 2019, right?
Correct.
So during this entire time period, there was a failed NSF audit, right?
Correct.
And during that entire time period, you kept shipping, you being Real-Water, kept shipping product to Costco and Whole Foods.
Correct.
Did you drink Real-Water?
I did.
What did you think of it?
Did I get sick? Yes, I did.
Okay. And well, first of all, when did you start drinking Real-Water?
I think the first day I got there, I didn't get sick until later on. I didn't get sick. I just got mainly diarrhea.
Vomiting?
No vomiting, but diarrhea and dizziness. I thought it was something I ate at some Japanese restaurant or something.
Okay, so you drank Real-Water from the production line that was making the bottles for Costco and Whole Foods?
Right. Not right after the production is made, because I was told, never drink any water right after it's made. You have to wait for a few days so that the things settle in. And it's like, okay, fine.
Okay, so someone told you never to drink the water after it was made.
Right.
And,
That was Blaine.
did Blaine explain why?
He said, I really was let the process of the water calm down and I don't quite know why he told me that, but I just listened to what he said and don't drink it until a few days later.
Okay, so if the bottle that was intended for Costco or Whole Foods had some kind of cap problem, or maybe the wrapper didn't get on right, they used it for the employees.
Correct.
Okay, and those would be 1 liter, 1.5 liter, the smaller bottles. Okay, and that's what you drank, the 1 liter, 1.5 liter?
Pretty much.
Okay, and so can you tell me what happened to make you ill, or what you would call it?
Pretty much looked like dizziness. I had a pretty bad case of diarrhea twice. And I thought that was something I ate outside of real water. Never really thought it was water was making me sick. Yeah.
Okay, you said you had diarrhea twice. Did you also have nausea?
Correct.
Both times?
First time, but not the second time.
Why do you remember the first time?
Because I was trying to walk from one office to the other office. And I had to sit down for like 10 minutes because I was like, just spinning.
Correct. And that resulted in this diarrhea, nausea, and headache. Correct. Correct.
Did I crap? Yes.
Okay. I just said correct, but
What?
I said I asked correct.
Oh.
Did you quit drinking real water after this second school? Okay. And time frame wise, how does this fit in with the neighbor issue?
Well, then my neighbor, yeah, I mean, he started telling me about it right after I quit. That, they got really sick and I was like, well, I asked him, what happened when you guys went to the hospital and I was your ambulance? And, yeah, I got really sick from the water that I was drinking. Well, my wife got sick first and then it was him afterwards.
But as of June 2019, you knew of 2 incidents yourself where you got sick from drinking real water, and you also knew of your neighbor and his wife getting sick from real water, correct?
Right, my family looked.
All right, now we've gone through it a little bit. Would you agree with me that real water could have done more to make safer drinking water?
Right. Yeah, I think that they should have done a little bit more for the safety of the water and whoever they sell it to. If they, go through the proper sanitations and the process. It's just like, to me, it was like more like, oh, everything is a hush hush. You can't tell anyone. Prior to working at the company, they told me like they asked me to sign this 100-page of employment agreements, NDA, and I was like, I'm not working for a Secret Service, I'm just working for a freaking water company.
Yes, and have you seen any of the purchase records to show that he did purchase it from Whole Foods, or have you not seen those purchase records?
No, I do not, but I do go over to his house when they're away to feed his dog, and I do see real water on his counter that they've been drinking, and that was pretty much it. But I don't ask him, oh yeah, that show me the receipt or anything.
Now, you told Mr. Kemp about 2 instances where it sounds like you now believe you may have had some sort of symptoms after drinking real water. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, I did. Yeah, the first instance I was very dizzy. After drinking it, it didn't affect me right away, but it did affect me during the afternoon where I had a bad case of diarrhea. And I thought that was not related to the water I was drinking. I thought that's something I ate the night before at the restaurant I was at. But other than that, that was it. And it happened again the following month. And again, I didn't associate that with real water. And then why did I have the same case? And I didn't eat the same food like I did last time. So I couldn't make that assumption that, it came from real water, but I got really sick.
Were you told about there being some sort of interaction between the ozone and the E2 real water concentrate that required it to settle down for some set period of time?
Yeah. Even my production supervisor knows that too, that you can get pretty sick if you drink the water right away. And that was pretty much it. Because when the people drink the water at Whole Foods or Costco, it's been sitting in the warehouse to be shipped for quite a few days prior to them shipping it out.
While you were there, to the extent there were any issues like that, was real water picked to fix those issues under your guidance?
At first, they didn't really want to do it, especially the pest control, because it's like, oh, it's gonna cost so much money and we're gonna have someone to do it, ourselves. I said, no, you can't do that. You have to have documented, where Ecolab or Terminex will come in and they will walk through the facility and they will give us a log of everything that they checked from all the, traps that they set up and other number, all the flies that, lights that they set up. They actually go physically, once you bring in, we get a report, from a licensed technician from Ecolabs or Terminex. And we keep that on our transition logs. So that's one of the steps that we have to fix, that I had to fix when I was there. Other thing that was more of a maintenance issues, or filtration, or where we try to rent a scissor lift to bring up there and fix the filter. But sometimes I get rejected because, find someone to do it or get a long ladder to do it. For me, that's a safety issues.
At Real Water, you ultimately were able to hire the pest control to address the pest issue, true?
I was able to, finally.
Yeah.
But when I left, I heard they fired me.
You said that someone at Real Water didn't want you talking to NSF when they came back on the re-audit?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Right?
And what did he tell you?
He said I would do it with Costco audit when time comes.
And in your belief they did that, why?
Because I think that there are things that hidden that I want to discuss, especially the secret room. Other than that, I didn't carry one.
Okay. And if NSF had known everything that you knew, they wouldn't have passed the audit, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Correct.
That's it.
That's it, that's it, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
We call Patricia Sutherland, Ms. 99.
All right.
I can barely hear you, Mr. Kemp, I apologize. Please watch your step as you're saying that.
Make sure she watches the chair.
Yes, Your Honor.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. May the state and spell your name correctly.
Patricia Sutherland, Patricia Sutherland.
Thank you.
So please watch your step as you sit. Thank you, ma'am.
And Your Honor, I expect to use one exhibit with Ms. Sutherland, Exhibit 51. I believe that we have a stipulation to admit the exhibit.
No objection from my water, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection, Mayor. All right, she'll be admitted, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Hi,
You live in Las Vegas, correct?
yes,
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you do for work?
I'm a mediator with the Clark County court system.
Mediator, what does that entail?
Helping parties resolve their disputes while maintaining neutrality.
Are you a lawyer?
No,
Have you ever previously testified in court before?
no.
Shane, if we could pull up Exhibit 51-0002. Pat, can you tell the jury who is in this photo?
In the back row is my son Simon, who's here in court. Then me, then my brother Rick, who lives in Milwaukee. In front of Rick is my sister Kathy. In between Kathy and Sister Judy is my late mama, Jeanette.
The 4 siblings in this photo, you, your brother Rick, your sister Judy, and Kathy. Are those all your siblings?
Yes, we're a pretty small family unit.
It's all relative. So, can you tell the jury the birth order of you and your siblings?
Kathy was first, then me, then Rick, then Judy.
So Kathy, your sister, was the oldest.
Kathy was the oldest.
Rick has not been able to be here at all. Can you tell the jury why?
We talk to him daily about what's going on in court, but years ago he was in a car accident. And unfortunately, it's left lingering effects and he's unable to travel. His respiratory issues.
And he lives in Wisconsin?
Yes, he's still in Milwaukee.
You say still, is that where your family was raised?
Yes.
Did you and your siblings all grow up in Milwaukee?
Yes, we lived in a bedroom suburb of Milwaukee. Both my folks were professional people, so we were very lucky. We had a secure and upper middle class upbringing.
Were you and your sister Kathy and your other siblings close growing up?
Yes, I shared a room with Kathy until she went away to college at age 18. And we're still in touch with each other. We still like one another. My parents must have done something right.
What is the age difference between Kathy and you?
We're all 2 years apart.
So we're here obviously because of your sister Kathy. So let's talk about her a little bit. What did Kathy aspire to do with her life when she was young?
I am not sure that she had any sort of childhood aspirations. She always professed an interest in social work or helping other people. But somewhere along the line, her path took a turn and she ended up in nursing.
You said you shared a room with Kathy until she went to college.
Yes.
Did she go to college for nursing?
No, she went to Grinnell College. I'm not sure what her undergraduate degree was, but then she decided to go to the Yale School of Nursing, where she got her master's, her RN, and her midwifery credentials. She was in the baby delivering business.
That's a midwife. Right?
Yes.
She delivered babies.
Yes.
After graduating from the Yale School, where did Kathy go next?
Well, she had an opportunity to get some of her student loans forgiven. As you can imagine, Yale is pricey. But if she agreed to serve in a medically underserved community for a couple of years, they would forgive 2 years of her loan. So she ended up at the Bureau of Indian Affairs Hospital in Fort Defiance, Arizona.
How long was Kathy there for?
Well, she served her 2 years by government contract, but she liked it so well that she and another midwife formed a little corporation, and she was there for another 3 years.
And ultimately, how long was Kathy in Arizona?
Up until the time she retired and moved to Nevada.
And during the time that Kathy lived in Arizona, where did you live?
My son and I were all over the country, but at one point Kathy invited me to come to Phoenix to manage her medical practice. She had migrated down south from Fort Defiance, Arizona, and opened up a private practice on the campus of a hospital where she had hospital privileges and prescribing privileges. So when I say midwife, I think people have this image of home birth, but she was a private practitioner with a connection to a hospital.
And did you in fact live with Kathy for that time period?
Oh, when I first moved there, but after a while, Simon and I had an apartment of our own.
And how many years were you in the same city as Kathy, managing her practice?
I'm guessing 5. My mom at the time was living in San Diego, and she took a tumble, and it became apparent that she was getting on, and perhaps a family member should move to San Diego to be closer to mom. So I think we were there for about 5 years before I moved to San Diego.
So is it fair to say that during this time period, you and Kathy were very close?
Yes, we were considerably younger then.
The type of sisters where you would move to be with Kathy and help her manage her work practice?
Yes, go to concerts together, go clubbing together, hang out.
Did Kathy ever marry?
No,
Did she ever have any children of her own?
no,
Was she close to your son?
very close. Simon was going to high school while we were living there. Kathy and Simon used to go camping in the desert. In fact, Simon is the only one of his generation, so he's everybody's kid.
None of your other siblings had children?
No.
What kind of person was Kathy?
She was so warm. She was so empathetic. She was such a good practitioner. After she died, we found a box full of notes and photographs that her patients had sent her chronicling how her babies were growing up. Many of her patients came back for a second and a third and a fourth delivery. She was a bit of a rascal, had a terrific sense of humor, liked to tease her younger siblings. She was a take charge individual. She was a Taurus. She was wonderful. Wonderful.
What kind of things did she enjoy doing?
She was very crafty. She would make people gifts, put together scrapbooks. She would plan parties, go to parties. She loved music, especially reggae music. Always going to concerts and shows. She had lots of friends. As she moved from Yale to Arizona to Nevada, she stayed in touch with friends that she had made 30, 40 years ago. So she was a good friend and a caring individual.
Now, you were living in San Diego with your mom,
Right.
and did there come a time where you moved to Las Vegas?
Yes, again, my mom was 80 at the time, and she decided that her house was too big to maintain, and my sister Judy, who was living in Las Vegas, was a one-woman chamber of commerce and convinced us that we should move here. Apart from anything else, the cost of living, the cost of buying a home is much cheaper in Las Vegas. So we purchased a house together, and my mom financed the building of a casita on the property. She never wanted to live with her kids, but she had her own beauty house on our property.
And do you recall approximately what year you and your family moved to Las Vegas?
That was 2007.
And then what about Kathy? When did Kathy move to Las Vegas?
I would say it was probably in 2015. She retired and decided that she wanted to join the family. So she moved here.
When Kathy first moved to Las Vegas, where did she live?
She moved in my house.
And at the time, who all lived in your house?
Well, my mom was in the casita. There's my now husband, Joe, and me. Sister Judy had recently sold her house and was living there. And so here came Kathy. So I just have to give kudos to my husband who put up with all the women in the house at the same time. But we all peacefully coexisted until Kathy and Judy got an apartment.
And about how long did you, Kathy, and Judy all live together in the same house?
Yeah, about a year.
What was your relationship with Kathy like at this time?
It was a continuation. It didn't matter what towns we were living in. We always stayed in touch. And it was just a real treat to get back together with her. You know, our interests change. You get older, you get smarter. Instead of getting ready to go out clubbing at 9 o'clock, now we're going to bed at 9 o'clock. But just the companionship, it was special.
How often did the two of you speak?
Probably every day.
Now that you live in the same city, how often do you see her?
Yeah, at least once a week.
What kind of things did you enjoy doing? What kind of things did you enjoy doing together?
We loved swimming, barbecues, watching Netflix, going to movies, going to see shows or concerts in town.
Did the two of you share any special traditions together?
Oh, and this is going to date me, but back in 1964, on September 4th, Kathy was 13, I was 11, and we saw the Beatles in concert in Milwaukee. And as an aside, the ticket prices for the Beatles concert in 1964 was $4, $5, and $6. And every year, on September 4th, with the exception of a couple of years that I was living in England, every year on December 4th, we'd call one another and take that trip down memory lane.
Did you both share a joy and love for music?
Yes, her taste tended towards reggae music. So we would chase bands on the West Coast like UB40. There's another English pop group called Squeeze that if they were within 500 miles, we would go see them.
Did you observe Kathy's relationship with your brother Rick?
Sure, growing up, they were close. Rick was, if I can use the term like financial guru, we would call him for financial advice. I know they spoke at least twice a month, but because Rick stayed in Milwaukee, I haven't seen that many interactions. I know when Kathy went back for like the 50th high school reunion, she stayed with him.
So they would see each other and speak regularly as well?
Yes.
How long ago did you lose your mother?
Well, that picture was taken at Christmas time in 2014, and she died a month later.
I'm sorry, I know even when your family members live a long life, it's still difficult. So you mentioned this was taken Christmas time. Would you typically spend holidays and special occasions together?
Always. My house, when we moved to Vegas, turned into Holiday Central because Mom was there and my son would want to stay with us.
In the type of difficult times like when your mother passed, did you and Kathy rely on each other for support?
Yes, we were all of us were by my mom's bedside when she died. It was very peaceful and quiet, and it was certainly a searingly personal and shared experience, and she was there for comfort.
Is that the type of person Kathy was? Someone that you could go to for comfort and support?
Always.
Let's talk about when Kathy got sick. What happened?
I'm sure Sister Judy can speak more to this because they were sharing a house together at the time, but I got a call that Kathy needed to go to the hospital because of some funky liver tests. And she was in the hospital for 3 days.
When was this?
I'm sorry, I think it was 2019 or 2020.
She died in November of 2020.
Right. So
How long before that hospitalization was the first hospitalization that she first became sick?
A month possibly?
A month or so?
Yeah.
And what was that like? What happened in that first?
Well, she was drinking hospital water. Her liver numbers started to right themselves. And so after 3 days, she was discharged home.
And then she went back home, and you understand that this time is when she's drinking real water.
Yes.
And
She
then,
had it home delivered.
so she goes back home after being hospitalized for a few days with liver problems, and then what happened?
Again, this is something Judy can talk to you about, her growing fatigue and weakness, but I got another call from Judy saying that Kathy had fallen on the bedroom floor and could not pick herself up. So I said, call the paramedics. And they came over and transported her to St. Rose Sienna.
And this time it's to a worse degree.
Yes.
And now we're talking November 2020. This is the
October
October 2020. This is the height of COVID.
Yes.
Are you able to visit her in the hospital?
Well, she started having seizures in the emergency room, so they didn't know she was having a stroke or what, so they hustled her up to the ICU. At the time, there were 2 ICUs, one for COVID and one regular ICU. So she was in the regular ICU where they started to treat her for an unknown illness.
And are you able to visit her at all at this time?
Yes, and despite the COVID protocols, the hospital was wonderful. Kathy was in pretty dire shape, but they let a family member or friend stay with her from about 7 in the morning to 8 or 9 in the evening. So there was somebody with her as often as possible.
One at a time?
One at a time.
So you were never able to gather with your sister and be by Kathy's bedside?
No.
But you took turns rotating, so someone was with her as much as possible.
Yes.
Is that right? And in terms of your turns with Kathy being by her bedside at this time, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a little bit about those visits?
At first, it was very unsettling. She was intubated. She was hooked up to every conceivable monitor, tubes running in and out. I didn't know if she could hear me. I didn't know if she was in pain.
Were her eyes open?
No, at this time her eyes were closed.
At certain times, did they open?
Towards the very end of her life.
Did Kathy appear to be suffering?
No, she was, at this time, she was, I would say probably comatose. You know, we would read to her, we would play her music, we would try chatting with her, but there was no exchange. At
times when you and your sister were there, were there times where she was alert or looking at you or appearing responsive?
When she was in the ICU, there were occasional moments when we thought she was lucid, her eyes would open, but of course she couldn't talk because of the intubation. But for instance, we would talk to her and squeeze her hand, and she'd give us a little feeble squeeze back.
You mentioned that she was in the ICU and things were dying. What were you being told about the condition?
The doctors had no idea what was causing this catastrophic shutdown. I mean, there were teams of doctors that would make their round of the ICU daily. And I would stand there and listen to them. You know, everybody from the nutritionist to physical therapists to the doctors and nurses. And they would look at her chart and they're just shaking their head. They had no idea what was wrong, how to treat it. The one thing that they were certain of was that she was in liver failure.
Were you told that Kathy was not going to make it?
After about 3 weeks, another friend of ours who came out from Maryland to help us out, because she also is a nurse and had worked with Kathy many years previous. She's the one that basically told us Kathy was not going to come out of this. I don't believe I don't recall getting a message from her physician team, but at some point they told us that it was time to think about moving her into hospice.
And did that happen?
We wanted her to go to Nathan Appleson, where my mom spent her last days, but they did not have a room available. But St. Luciana has a special hospice section in hospital, so they transferred her from the ICU to the hospice.
And when we talk about hospice, we're talking about end-of-life care to make someone who's transitioning as comfortable as possible.
Yes.
When Kathy was moved to hospice care, were you able to visit her in hospice?
Yes, most of the machinery and tubes had been disconnected. And that was when she opened her eyes and was able to respond to our conversation, which gave us a false sense of hope that she was going to pull through.
Can you describe a little bit about what your visits were like with Kathy while she was in hospice care?
She would stare at me with her big, beautiful brown eyes. She was NPO, they weren't allowed to give her anything by mouth. And she was terribly parched, so I would dip a sponge into a glass of ice water and put it in her mouth and let her suck on that. And then later on have to put chapstick on her lips because she was so parched. I can't remember the things I talked about, just inane chatter, just to let her know I was there, to let her know that I cared about her. I can't remember what was said, but she wasn't really able to respond again. It was just the occasional hand squeeze.
Were you in touch with your brother Rick at this time?
Sure.
Was he ever able to be put on a speakerphone or video chat?
I don't remember about communicating. He may have done that when Simon or Judy was in the room. With me, he just checked up on her condition. And of course, he was concerned. It was heartbreaking for him. to be in Milwaukee and not to be with us at that particular time, but I don't recall.
Will you share one of the things you miss most about your sister?
Just Kathy. Just Kathy. I miss her to this day. We all do. We had a little memorial service on what would have been her 70th birthday in Judy and Kathy's house. And people came from all over the country, people that she'd known for 20, 30, 40 years, and people who couldn't come logged on because we tried live streaming it. Apropos of nothing, once when Kathy was in the desert camping with Simon, she told him, look, if I die before you, I want you to play a song at my memorial service. And the song she wanted Simon to find was May the Circle Be Unbroken by Asleep at the Wheel. And certainly Simon honored her request, and at the end of this little memorial service, he played that song, and we were all singing along with various degrees of musical aptitude. And, you know, I remember this warm feeling, knowing that all of these people cared. She touched so many lives. She touched them. She touched her family. She was a splendid individual. And after all this time, I just cannot believe that the reason she's not here with us now is because she drank some water.
Up on the screen, we have Exhibit 51. We have some pictures. I want you to look at the first three pictures.
Okay.
51-1, 52-2, 53-3, or 51-3, I apologize. Are these all pictures of Kathy before she started drinking real water?
I believe so, yes.
And if we could look at the last one, 51-4.
Uh-huh.
Is this Kathy after real water?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you for telling us your story today.
Thank you, sir. Boss, would you have any addition?